Okay, we are on air, so we will call the meeting to order now that we have a quorum. First of all, the agenda is before us. Are there any additions, corrections?
I'd move approval of the order.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, discussion, none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And we have the minutes from the June 27th meeting. We have not met since then. It's good to be back. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, discussion. All those in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Nicole, would you be kind and introduce the staff? I'm told we have some new people.
Yeah, good morning. And yes, since it's been a while since we've met, I thought I'd take this opportunity to introduce some of our new staff members who you might not have met in June. And we're going to continue to have a little bit of staff change in the next few months as well. So you might see various new faces from time to time over the course of the next year. But I wanted to introduce, I'll just start from kind of your left to right. We have, you know Jim, of course. And so we have Megan Elsheg. She's one of our planning coordinators, and she's overseeing the division related to urban development. And we've got Mark Williams, who's our assistant director. Mark's been with the city for over 17, 18 years, and so hopefully you've seen him around. And then to the right, we have Kylie Bagley. And Kylie just was promoted to planner, from assistant planner to planner. She's been with us for about 3.5 years, close to 4. And she is expecting, and so any day now. So if she leaves suddenly, you'll know why. But she'll handle most of the case items. And then Jim and the rest of us will chime in if you have some procedural questions. And we can go from there.
Excellent, thank you. Next item on the agenda, item number 3, is the request from LHS Investment, and Kylie will have you walk us through that.
Good morning. The city received a request from LHS Investments, LLC, to add one additional Renaissance Zone block to the City of Fargo's Renaissance Zone plan. The one block is located between 6th Avenue North, Oak Street North, the railroad, and Wildflower Grove Park. LHS Investment, LLC, has plans to construct a multifamily development on the proposed Renaissance Zone Block 54. Jesse Craig is here if you have any questions for him regarding the proposed additional block. Just so you know, the City of Fargo is allowed to have a maximum of 49 blocks. If you were to approve this block addition, it would bring the total count to 48 blocks that the City of Fargo has in the Renaissance Zone area. Staff is recommending approval of this block addition. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I do have one question, and maybe I'm just forgetting, didn't we have to have continuous blocks? This one is off to itself? Mm-hmm. Or that hadn't been changed in the past?
We're allowed to have one satellite block, so this would be considered the satellite block for us.
So to get my bearings on where this is at, is there a 2-story fourplex to the west of it, of this location?
Yeah, that would, Riley Rood built that.
Okay, so and this is to the east, taking up that section. Just wanted to make sure I knew where it was in conjunction to that other build.
Yeah, it'd be the corner, it goes along to the east, would be along the dike, levee that's partially built there, and
Right.
the railroad tracks to the south.
Okay, thank you.
That needs a bit of improvement. Chad, go ahead.
Thank you. One thing we mentioned some time ago was having a satellite block in South Fargo along University. And I actually think this is a pretty good spot for this, by the way, but has there been any further thought regarding that? Obviously, others have thought this too. University from 13th to 32nd. That seems to be one of the most ailing portions of the city. And obviously, from my perspective as a sort of a dummy, seems to be the best spot. You've got interstate access, you've got frontage roads, you've got every bit of infrastructure you need to develop what is, like I said, an ailing corridor. What are we doing about that? I understand we need piecemeal blocks too in the core, but gosh, that's the spot of the city that should be next.
Yeah, I'll look to Jim or Nicole maybe to answer that.
Sorry, still getting used to the technology here. Yeah, so, yeah, thanks for that question. We, as part of the 5-year plan update we did, I guess, 4.5 years ago, it was a little bit of a first come, first serve with the remainder of our blocks that we have allocated. I would say the University Corridor, while we've presented the idea to folks who might be interested, Mr. Craig is basically the first one to respond with the satellite block, and since it's a project that's been working on with the staff and the neighborhood for a number of years, we feel partial to recommending this over the university. I think as we start later on the agenda, as we start talking about the 5-year plan update, I think that would be a good discussion to have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Any other questions? If none, do I have a motion for action on this?
Madam Chairman, I would move approval of that request.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? I know we are bumping up against, we usually kept 3 in reserve, but I'd rather see them used and have some good projects. So, with no other discussion, let's call the vote. All those in favor of the approval signify by saying aye. Oh, I'm sorry. Debbie, would you do a roll call, please?
Luchow,
It's been a while.
Yes.
Furness,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Bashani, Mathern.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, Debbie. And thank you, Kylie, for that one. And then next on the agenda, Kylie and Jim will present on the request from 201 Hospitality LLC.
So again, the City of Fargo received a request from 201 Hospitality LLC to add an additional Renaissance Zone block. This block is located between 2nd Avenue North, 3rd Avenue North, 5th Street North, and 4th Street North. 201 Hospitality has plans to remodel the Radisson on the proposed Renaissance Zone Block 55. The proposed Renaissance Zone Block 55 contains government-owned buildings. This allows the City of Fargo to count this as a half block instead of a whole block. So staff is recommending approval of this block. If this is approved, this would bring our count to 48.5 blocks out of the 49 total that the city has allowed. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or if Jim has anything to add.
Should just wanted to add that the Fargo Police Department building is also on this block, and the city has plans to, vacate that at the end, sometime in September, and that will likely be sold for redevelopment. And having it in the Renaissance Zone would be an added incentive for someone to redevelop that property.
Okay. Commissioner?
That was my question, to see what you were going to do with that next, to see. My main struggle for this has been the Radisson has never paid property taxes, like, since it's been built. It seems as though the ownership groups have rotated, but it sort of is what it is regarding that. But if the city's going to be selling that other building, that might make a great deal of sense for whoever's next. So thank you for answering that.
Let me just address the property taxes. The Radisson was in a tax increment financing district. It's no longer in the district. It does pay property taxes. I think that's been the case for the last 5 years, but I can get you that information on when that TIF district was closed.
Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns on the project?
I'm very enthusiastic about this project and move for approval.
Okay. We have a motion for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? If none, roll call, please.
Luchow,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Furness,
Yes.
Bashani,
Yes.
Mathern.
Yes. Next on the agenda, the motion is carried. And I'm sure in this, Nicole and Jim, in your other business, you'll bring us up to date on if there's any blocks that are completed. So that would be one of my questions. So next item on the agenda, the discussing the Renaissance Development Plan update.
Good morning again. Yeah, in your packet, you have a memo from Kylie talking generally about a Renaissance Development Plan update. For now, we've just, what this memo basically summarizes for those that were part of the last 5-year update, we would proceed more or less the same way we have in the past. And so really just wanted to open this up for discussion to see if you had, and you're welcome to reach out to staff after this if ideas come forward to you that you want to investigate or further set up a discussion meeting. It doesn't have to be a formal setup like this, but so maybe just to walk through what we did last time is maybe to follow up on your question regarding what's complete and what's not and where the status is. Staff will begin doing that assessment on a block-by-block basis. And we, basically what we've done in the past is overlay all the various boundaries over the course of the life of the Renaissance Zone program and kind of just do an assessment and study the relationship of that boundary and what's been happening and what we might be hearing on the street as, you know, Jim talks to property owners and we hear of projects. So we just kind of do an assessment on that outer edge of that boundary to just make sure that boundary is what we want. And then in the past, we will send out a letter to property owners to see, hey, do you have any ideas? Do you have any plans in the future? Here's your opportunity to be included or excluded depending on your goals. Last year, last time we did a tour with the Renaissance Zone Authority where we, some of those questionable blocks or some of those things where we want to get a little bit more understanding of what's happening or how people feel about that block. We can, that walking tour I find really helpful, and it's good to have that discussion with the authority members to see what you feel, and especially with the history you have. Then we, staff kind of draw some plans and some recommendations. We meet a few times with the board. And then, if with your blessing, we bring it forward to the various parties for approval. So we're really open to, questions you might have about the process, the development of the plan ideas. There's a lot of moving pieces right now in downtown. So we can have that discussion. And to your question, Mr. Peterson, we can, talk about the other areas of the city that seem, ripe for redevelopment and see if it's time to amend the program or include other areas. So it's kind of where we're at right now, and just wanted to open it up for discussion and address any questions you might have.
Nicole, is it the case where when you request information, let's say the one block we had with Duffy's and leaf cleaners and all, if they don't respond, they just kind of lose out? That's a I don't have any intention type of answer?
Yeah, we try pretty diligently. I would say a few times to, some property owners just, choose not to respond. But I would say we don't just send a blanket letter and then expect, if that letter gets lost, people might not respond or something. So we try, I would say, take a pretty diligent, active role in that process.
Good. That makes me feel better to know that your bases are covered on that.
Yeah, and we'll put ads and press releases and notifications. And I think since we did the plan last time, we've done the Downtown in Focus plan, and that's kind of updated some of our reach as well.
Okay. Any questions of Nicole? Chad, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would love to see a couple blocks be pulled off, to call them victory blocks, where we've done everything we can do, the developers have done everything they can do, and for the time being, even if we go down to 30 total blocks, whatever that number is, we need to start seeing some victories. And I know there are some out there, And if nothing else, and we talked about this with Mr. Gilmore some time ago, or I did anyway, maybe a year ago, if nothing else, give them the encouragement, if they're going to do a project, to push them and nudge them into that project, and if they don't do it, so be it. They can always come back later, I suppose, but I would like to see some victories, because I know they're out there.
Great, thank you.
Go ahead, Carrie.
Also, I was wondering, will that research and summary also include some of the ones that we've approved in, say, the last 2 years that maybe haven't started and some of those reasons why?
Yeah,
So we can evaluate that as well?
yeah.
Okay.
All right. I think that concludes the discussion on the plan update. Thank you again, Nicole. Other business, Jim? He gave us a sheet here, request for development proposals, just for information.
This is, for your information, and the city had acquired the Park East Apartment Building along the river just south of Main Avenue as part of a flood protection project. There's a dike that's been constructed through that project, and if you drive by there today, you'll see a lift station and flood wall being completed. That work's going to be done by August. There's a remnant parcel that remains, actually it's about half square block in size, and we've received interest from adjoining properties and other developers who would like to develop this site. The project, or the site, is in the Renaissance Zone, so I anticipate whatever application comes in for the property, that they will request Renaissance Zone incentives. So I need to talk to the mayor, but I'd like the Renaissance Zone to be involved with the selection process for which proposal we select, so that we get a project that's consistent with the Renaissance Zone plan, and you're comfortable providing the Renaissance Zone incentives for this particular site. So again, more for your information right now, proposals are going to be due next month, and so we'll provide you with that information and may ask for your input on those proposals.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
Jim, I thought when that apartment complex was torn down and people moved out, they were told there was not going to be anything ever on that property. Is that true, or is that just my recollection? Or
I don't recall that ever being stated. Probably 2/3 of the property, that's true for the dike, but as that dike was designed, I think they realized they didn't need the entire portion of the property once they get into that full design.
Questions, Jack?
thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you.
No other questions? Thank you, Jim. Is there any other business to come before the committee? If none, our next meeting is March 27th. I will not be in the area at that time. Hopefully we'll have a quorum. With nothing else before us, meeting adjourned.